This week, the hot topic has been turnaround times and the channel conflict of turnaround times. As you would have seen in the review of the four major banks' hearings that was being undertaken by the Senate Economics Committee this week, lots of things to say from the CEOs of the four major banks around turnaround times and what they're doing. Some of the more interesting things, I think, was that some of the MPs are actually calling out broker pulse research that we've done into the matter on turnaround times and what the issue is in getting broker loans approved. Now, we know from what we've seen in the February and March month reports, turnaround times, especially at the majors, really blowing out. So according to CBA, direct at the moment is around 2 days time to yes. Broker channel, we know, is way further than that. MJ, you're the head of Momentum Intelligence, undertaking the broker pulse results. What does the major bank turnaround times look like at the moment?
Yeah, look, it's pretty tough for brokers out there at the moment, to be honest, especially when they're working with the majors. They're looking at around about 9+ days at each of the majors, a lot higher for some of the majors. So there is a lot of pain points there for brokers, particularly looking at some of the larger lenders and then comparing that to some of the non-major banks who are operating at much smaller margins, your Macquarie's and your INGs. They're working at much faster turnaround times.
Yeah, and Alex, you're the head of the advisor and director of Momentum. We've been talking a lot about turnaround times, obviously, with all the work we've been doing here at the advisor to showcase some of the issues that brokers are facing. And really, this is just one of those issues that has been compounding month on month and really reaching, I think, a point now where all four major banks' CEOs are being asked, what are you doing about it? What do you think they should be doing about it?
Well, I think first and foremost, Annie, that the fact we're having this conversation this far down the path, in the evolution of the third-party channel is just ridiculous. When brokers account now for 60% of all new volumes, why the biggest institutions cannot get this right is really beyond me. Well, one of the main challenges is that you have customers choosing to use a broker, and oftentimes they will want a particular bank to provide the loan, and the brokers aren't able to provide that particular service to that particular borrower. So I think that first and foremost is poor service from the banks. I think, but more practically, in the long term, this is a big disadvantage of the major banks. With an evolving way that borrowers want to access home loans, they're going to find the brokers are going to be advising their clients to go to the institutions that can deliver turnaround times. I think there's very little excuse in this day and age, though, Annie. The major banks know what kind of volumes are going to go through the broker channel. We all get we all have access to data. We know the way that the property market, the refinancing, applications for loans, pre-approvals are going. So there is really no excuse in my mind.
Yeah, and as we're seeing in the Broker Pulse survey, we actually are seeing already brokers shifting their loans away from the big four to the non-majors because of this issue around turnaround times and credit assessment staff consistency of application as well. What is the sort of the general trends that you're seeing, MJ?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think basically there's some issues around the credit assessment staff. Brokers are saying, look, there doesn't seem to be some consistency there, but ultimately that does come back to the sheer volume that they're working with. Now, there's an argument out there that obviously we're seeing this huge influx of new buyers and refinances in the market at the moment, but really we're seeing that across the board with every single lender. So that does raise the question, what seems to be the problem at the majors? The majors and some of those sort of affiliated larger non-major banks, whereas the others are really, they're getting these huge spikes in volumes and a large number of brokers are coming to them with lots of clients and they're seeming to manage okay. So we're just not quite sure what the issue is there.
Yeah, according to some of the CEOs of CBA, Westpac, NAB and ANZ, the four major banks, some of the issues are the volume. We heard Matt Cummins say that it's a 40% increase year on year from broker channel applications. That's causing part of the problem. We've been hearing some issues from Westpac, for example. They had some issues with their offshoring staff teams during COVID, causing some issues there. We know that there's also been issues with technology and what they're actually able to get through the channel. So there's a lot of things, but it doesn't seem to be impacting the direct. And as we've heard, direct channel for many of these major banks flowing through very easily. So it really seems to be, there needs to be more to be done to fix this, because if some banks can do it and others can't, the real question is why can't they?
I think it's a massive missed opportunity for the major banks. And I think that really looking at the way that volumes are going, the way that the percentage of borrowers are choosing to access a mortgage, it is a liability looming for banks that want to have deep relationships with their clients through the third-party channel. There are plenty of reasons. The banks will cite, sort of poorer quality applications from brokers. Look, that's debatable. We don't get the opportunity to get insight into that. But you know what? Even if that is the situation, resource your teams properly. There is such a significant flow of volume going through these channels. Have the facility to deal with the slightly different quality of applications, if that is indeed a true and viable complaint.
Yeah, so if we're seeing a 40% uptick in lending from the broker channel, maybe you should increase the staff to be able to manage it. For all of the insights into Broker Pulse, then do make sure you take a look at the Broker Pulse surveys and our coverage of it on The Advisor as well. And do come to the Better Business Summit 2021, where we'll be delving further into this research and the Consumer Access to Mortgages report to find out what consumers think about their mortgage experience at the Better Business Summit 2021.